Today's speaker will be Dr. David Chu, the Assistant Head of Academics from the Department of Statistics and Data Science. He will be sharing with us how statistics plays a crucial role in big data collection and analysis, as well as how it is central to the intellectual core of many businesses and industries. So Dr. Chu, please.
Thanks, everyone. Welcome and thank you for taking time to join us this afternoon. It's good to be back in a LT because for the past 2 years, I've been teaching over Zoom and all those stuff. So I'm trying to get used to the ability to interact with students. For those of you who are coming in this year, it is a good time to come back after the pandemic because you get to experience how university life is supposed to be, right? In a LT like this, you might be eating your snacks, listening to the lecture, trying to learn and all those stuff. All right. So my name is David Chu. I'm the assistant head for academics in the Department of Data Science and Statistics. Maybe I should say Statistics and Data Science, actually. So our department has several programs. Some of you might have been at the Data Science and Analytics talk just a while ago. My colleague, Prof. Lim Tiong Wee, was probably telling you about the Data Science and Analytics program. So the statistics program has been around since, let me see, it's on my t-shirt actually, 1998 actually. So next year will be 25 years. So you might wonder, what's the difference? Maybe the basic question is what's the difference between what you know from perhaps A-level and poly? What's the difference between math and statistics? All right, and then maybe the next question is what's the difference between data science and analytics and statistics, right? I hope to give you a little bit of idea what's the difference between all those, all right? But firstly, I must say that our department is a medium-sized department. We have about 40 full-time, teaching faculty. We have a lot of good teachers, and in the research area, we do very well as well. We have a lot of different experts in different areas of statistics research and so on and so forth. All right. So you see that we have colleagues working in rather modern statistical stuff, deep learning, machine learning, financial stats, and so on and so forth. And even for traditional and more traditional statistical research area, we have people working in those areas. You see that from this list of research area, you see that statistics has got lots of different applications in a diverse area of fields. You see financial stuff, time series, sometimes you use it in financial stuff as well, causal inference in social sciences maybe, computational biology in genomics. In fact, probably about 10, 20 years ago, we have the genomic sequence being done and all those things. So statistics is actually heavily involved in the analysis and trying to make sense of genomic data. And I think maybe about 10 years ago, then it was very big about brain scans and all those stuff. So imaging. So again, statistics is used in trying to make sense of very big data sets coming from images. In fact, I just had dinner with one colleague whose work is actually in trying to make sense of images actually. All right. So you have infectious disease modeling. Of course, a lot of us would be a little bit more familiar with the R0 and all those stuff, right? The rate of reproduction. We've been talking about all this stuff in statistics and biostatistics for quite a number of years actually. All right. And of course, in the recent years, data science came to the fore. All right. But at the core of it, a lot of statistical techniques are actually being employed in data science and in related fields as well. All right. So in various different areas, as I've mentioned, in banking, in healthcare, in consultancy, in government and education, statistics is actually very important. All right. I might even say that statistics is essentially data science. All right. We try to make sense of data from different domains. All right. And therefore the program tries to train as much as possible our graduates so that they are ready to go into different fields. We have quite a number of graduates who goes into the financial sector. We have students going into internship in insurance companies and then in banks in tech-related field, the STA, government agencies like MOM, LTA, and banks, and UOB, Property Guru, and also the tech firms as well. We also have students working in the pharmaceutical areas as well. All right, so the point that I'm trying to make is that statistics is rather applicable in various fields, as long as you need to deal with data, actually. So that's basically the appeal of doing stats. I myself come from a more mathematical background. In fact, my basic degree is in math, actually, and I got into a little bit more statistical portion of things, and ended up in the stats department. So statisticians, what do we do, right? We are very heavily involved, and we provide expertise in the design and also the analysis of surveys, experiments, and also in research studies. So you see that stats is also being used in social sciences. So for some of you who might be thinking of a major in one of the social sciences or even the arts, humanities, you can consider stats as a second major as well. It'll be rather useful for your major. In fact, one of the more popular for the art student, I know that there are a lot of econ students who actually take stats as a second major, actually. So that's one possibility. All right. And the main focus of stats is basically trying to make sense of data that you collected, and considering that the data that you collect, right, there is some sort of variation, because sometimes you take only a certain portion of the population, right? So you don't have access to everybody's data, right? So what you do is you take a subset of the population, and there is some sort of variation, because when you take this particular subset and you take a different subset, the data that you collect is very likely to be different, right? But yet, what we're trying to do in stats is that despite the variation that might come because you collect from different subgroups, you want to try to make sense of how the entire population is like, right? So that's basically the idea of sample versus population, right? So there is some sort of uncertainty and in various fields, in business, econs, engineering, and in sciences as well, right? So in a nutshell, that's what statisticians aspire to do. And that's what our curriculum tries to do with our students as well. So I won't go into the details, but suffice to say that in banking and finance, statistical skills are very crucial in trying to make sense and do modeling and so on and so forth. And in consumer research, I had this opportunity to interact with some colleagues who are working in a consumer product company. So I think they were trying to do some sort of consumer research for certain types of cosmetic products. So it's quite well known, but I won't tell you what that product is. And what they were trying to do is they have new products, and what they wanted to do is to try to gauge with from samples, little samples of potential users, whether they're going to like this product or not. So actually, it is not a trivial problem. They needed to understand what would be the reception for this particular new facial product. And because they usually give a few different products to the same tester, so there is some consideration that needs to be taken into account. For example, you are given product ABC, right? Cosmetic products, for example, right? So whether the tester tries product A, B, or C, or C, B, or A, there is some issues that you need to consider, right? So long story short, that there are statistical techniques that will help us try to make sense of a situation like this. So in consumer research, actually, all right. Some of you, if you bother to follow the news, you would know that last year, I think 2021, right, the 2020 census for Singapore was being released, and there was a lot of different news in different news that is being released in the press. All right, so you see that in Singapore, this census and therefore collection of data is done so that the government can make good policies out of understanding the population. So statistical expertise is actually required in such instances as well, right? To make good sense, a policy sense. In fact, we do have graduates who go to work in the Met Bureau, the Weather NEA of Singapore, right? So they do weather prediction, you know, this kind of stuff. There are also some of our graduates who work in the Singapore Department of Statistics, actually. So dealing with all this stuff. And also a little story. We became known as the Department of Statistics and Applied Probability probably about 24 years ago. And we would have wanted to use the name Department of Statistics. But the story is this, that people don't want our department to be mixed up with the government department. And therefore, we ended up with the name Department of Statistics and Applied Probability. And of course, last year, because of the newly gained interest in data science, we changed our name from Department of Statistics and Applied Probability to Department of Statistics and Data Science. All right, so that's a short story of history of our department. All right, but in any case, I was trying to say that statistics is rather important also in the formulation of government policy and measures, policy making. And definitely in medicine and public health, it is very important. You would have noticed that quite a number of biostatisticians are actually being consulted as to the government response to the COVID situation over the past 2 or 3 years. In fact, quite a number of our colleagues from the School of Public Health, they have a joint appointment with our department as well. This Professor Teo Eng and Professor Alex Cook, whom you might recognize from the news, their training is primarily in statistics actually. So again, so this is also one important area that statisticians have contributed towards, all right, public health. So if you are interested in a statistics education in Singapore, let me let you know that we are the only department in Singapore that offers a degree program in statistics. Over at our neighbor in Jurong, they have a math program with a specialization in statistics, I believe. All right. So far, there is no degree program in stats yet. All right. I shall not name our neighbor. We have good friends over there as well. So yes, and therefore now that a lot of you, I suppose you have either given an offer from CHS, you have accepted it, or you're thinking about accepting it. So the first thing that you should do is do accept the offer that is being given to you towards to the CHS. All right. So after you accept the offer to CHS, then you think very hard. Give us a closer thought, all right, as to what your eventual major might be. Statistics is a good choice. I will not go through this in detail. Most of you would have seen this in the CHS curriculum talk. Essentially, under the CHS system, there is 1/3 core curriculum, 1/3 major, and then you have the 1/3 free elective or unrestricted elective. So that's how basically the curriculum works. So I hope that your second blue, sorry, not the blue one, but rather the orange one, you will pick the statistics major. All right, so that's basically what I'm trying to achieve in today's session. And you would know that under the CHS model, you can choose to be a specialist, you can choose to be an integrator, or you can choose to be a versatilist. I don't really know how to pronounce it properly. But basically, under the first option, everyone must take the core curriculum for sure. All right. So under the first option, you choose a major, and then for the last third, you can be as creative as you want. My colleague was talking about taking Korean language modules in the data science talk. You can take up Malay or some other things, arts, humanities, history, and all those. So you could be as versatile as you like. All right. The integrator will be someone who, besides picking, for example, a stats major or a data science major or a math major, picks up a second major, right? So you can consider maybe a major in stats and maybe physics, or maybe social work. I don't know. That's not very common combination, but that's a possibility. All right. So that's the integrator. Or it could be a deep specialist, meaning that you spend your last third of it on the major as well, right? Meaning that you maybe pick up one or two specializations within the major. That is a possibility. All right. So the CHS structure allows you this flexibility to be one of the three different categories that is being mentioned over there. Well, I'm not going to go through this in detail. All right. So you might ask, who is eligible for the statistics curriculum? Well, this is how things work. You gain entry to CHS, and after that, you take a module, for example, in your desired major. All right. So for the case of statistics, you take the gateway module, ST1131. All right. And to be eligible for that, you need a good H2 pass in mathematics or equivalent. All right. But if you don't have that that particular requirement, you might be able to take a what we call a bridging module as well. So that's a possibility. All right. So that's for the major requirement. You could also choose on top of your 60 MC to do a specialization. All right. So on top of this major requirement, so I'm talking about stats now. On top of this basic, so this is the bare minimum to get a degree in stats. All right. So on top of this, you could actually choose one or two. Sorry. You could choose to specialize in either data science or financial and business stats as well, on top of your major requirement. So that's a possibility. That will be another 20 MC or so. That's 5 modules each. All right. You might have seen this as well. One attractive thing about the stats major is that under the CHS core curriculum, there is this data literacy requirement. All right. So the default module that everyone takes is the module GA 1000, whom I happen to be the module coordinator. So we have about 3,000 students every semester. So I'm the module coordinator together with another colleague. But if you subscribe to the stats major, then ST1131 will fulfill that particular requirement. And that means that you simply just need to take 48, basically MC. All right, so that means that you have one extra module that is free for you to explore anything else you like. Okay, so that's the benefit that you get for a major in stats. I want to say that it is quite important to understand the philosophy of our program. Right, nowadays, anyone can just pick up a statistical software and run analysis of data and try to interpret the results. But it is quite important that when you use certain techniques, you need to understand whether that technique applies or not. All right. So it's quite important that we teach our students the whole idea of formulating the problem. All right, and the idea of statistical thinking. All right, so that whatever technique you apply, it makes sense. Okay, because you can always for example, apply a t-test on any data set that you have, all right, or do something fanciful, statistically, technique wise. But it might not make sense because the basic assumption might not be met, all right? So it's quite important to understand the theory behind it, all right? So that's one important point that I want to emphasize. So that in the future, when you have a new problem that is not being what do you call that? Not being covered by any technique that you know already, you are able to look into the possibility of developing new theory to deal with a new problem. And that's very important. And not just in statistical training, but I think in every major that you want to take. All right. So the idea is that you should be able to learn rather than learn materials. All right. I think to be fair, right? I think, okay, I should say that there is merit in every discipline, right? What is important is that in every discipline that you subscribe to, you need to learn how to learn so that you can create new knowledge and you're able to deal with new problems. And all of us know that the world that we are living now is changing at such a fast pace. All right. For me, it's not so bad because I'm of a certain age already. But for most of you over here who are young, you need to be prepared to be dealing with new stuff coming out. All right. So it's important that you learn how to learn. All right. And statistical training, as with physics training or history or geography, the main aim is to teach you how to think in a certain way. All right. So that it's a vehicle to teach you how to think in a certain way. All right. And I think that there's value in statistical, mathematical, or data science, or physics, history, geography training. All right. So it's also quite important that you consider your interests. All right. So for some of you, you might be very sure you want to do stats. You might be very sure you want to do physics. So that's good for you. Just go ahead. All right. For some of you who are a little bit undecided, what I will advise you to do, right, is to keep your options open. All right. Especially if you have already narrowed down your area of interest. All right. So I can assume that most of you over here would probably be interested in maybe math, statistics, maybe some of you physics, and maybe computer science. Right. So there is quite a bit of overlap within these three different disciplines. So you can try to make your options as open as possible, and then maybe at the end of year one, make your decision what you want to major in. Because sometimes you might be lured by a certain advertisement, right? And you think that, wow, this is something that I want to do, right? But when you're in it, then you have a real taste of how this particular major or this food is. Sorry, no, I'm thinking about food now. Right. So this particular major is like, right? So you have a what do you call that, experience of it, then you are able to make a better decision. All right. I will not go through the curriculum structure, but suffice to say that there are opportunities for you to be exposed beyond the basic foundational stats curriculum modules to learn about applications of statistics in various different areas. All right. Some of you might be interested in the medical field or finance field. So that's one possibility to specialize in, actually, eventually. All right. In medical, that's one opportunity. Again, there's also internship opportunities as well. I will advise you and encourage you to go for at least one internship through the UPIP program. We can talk about it later outside if you're interested to find out more. But I think everyone should go for one UPIP at least. It's good for your career. Okay. Yeah, I think these are stuff that we can talk about later. But so the core message that I wanted to tell you is that stats is actually very versatile, and it's applicable in a diverse spectrum of industries. So do consider this major. But firstly, you should accept the offer to CHS. How many of you have not decided to come into CHS yet? Still thinking about it? How many have accepted the offer already? CHS? May I have a show of hands? Okay, good. Yeah. Now the next thing to do is to decide on the major, and that's the stats major. All right. Thank you very much. I will not take time anymore. If you have any questions, I'll be outside together with my colleagues at the booth over there. I'll be interested and happy to take any questions that you may have. All right. So do give us a consideration. All right. I hope to see many of you in our statistics program. All right. So all the best to you. Enjoy your university life. There's also the Statistics and Data Science Society. All right. So in the university, it's also quite important that you have some form of social club that you belong to, so that your life can be more meaningful besides just studying. My host over here would agree. Okay, so all the best to all of you.